Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, Jo Rawbone. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations. Episode 228, Calming the Jitters. When I was growing up, my father would refer to having the heebie-jeebies, and frequently that certain people would give him the heebie-jeebies. On reflection, I think my pa was way more emotionally intelligent and intuitive than his oh-so-logical sensibilities would have us believe. There have been a couple of occasions when my jitters or heebie-jeebies were so bad that I thought I'd not be able to start or finish what I was doing. The first was when I delivered a reading at my friend Barbara's wedding. It was a passage from Khalil Gibran, and I think it was the piece called On Marriage. That would make perfect sense, wouldn't it? Anyway, I won't go into all of the circumstances that contributed to my jitters. That wouldn't be appropriate. Suffice to say, I was not in the best place, personally, emotionally, or mentally on their special day. You can probably guess what happened. My legs shook so badly I thought I was going to fall. My face flushed red, something I've experienced my whole life, and not just when I'm hot, and my voice trembled like a river over the rapids. Yep, my jitters got the better of me, and I didn't deliver the polished performance my ego would have wanted. I did give an emotional reading, just too emotional for my liking. As you might imagine, Gladys gave me plenty of feedback, and I use that word lightly, although to be fair, much of it was valid. Interestingly, I didn't feel shame or embarrassment for me. I did, however, feel concerned that I'd ruined Barbara and Ian's day. By now you've probably understood what I mean by the jitters. It's that sense of extreme nervousness and maybe even panic before some sort of event. Actors get them, musicians get them, sports professionals get them, and so do the likes of you and I. So firstly, there's nothing necessarily wrong with you if you feel the jitters about an upcoming event. You may recognise it when your heart beats faster than normal, when the butterflies in your tummy stop flying in formation and do the tarantella instead. So it's a normal reaction, and we need to keep that in perspective. Just like professional athletes, we get to decide whether the jitters signify a sign of readiness and energy or a sign of nervousness. I know which would serve me better. So not only is the jitters not a bad thing, it can sometimes alert us to something important. For instance, if I feel that I'm being forced into doing something that's way outside my comfort zone, then it's useful to have a sense of caution. But how far out of our comfort zones are we really talking? When we get to look at things rationally, we often see that they are more learning edge than fear and anxiety zone territory, and that's good. So as introverts, common things that trigger the jitters can include public speaking, networking events, giving developmental feedback, leadership meetings, and even family occasions. We'd like to think that family occasions are happy occasions, but from bitter experience, I know the criticism and judgment that can be piled on me from those who still regard my introversion as a problem. And I don't think I'm alone in declaring my dislike of uncalled for judgment, especially from those we're supposed to be most connected to. It's a surefire way to fast-track me into overwhelm. More than that, though, it's likely to increase my frustration if I feel I can't bite back on unhelpful feedback. And yes, biting back takes courage, bravery, and confidence, all components of flourishing. As my now late dear friend Kim McIntosh said on a birthday card to me recently, friends are the family we chose. So before we can calm our jitters, we first need to take time out to understand our personal triggers, which are a case of catastrophization and which are genuine and necessary warning bells. Taking a trip up the fantasy ladder won't serve you here. If the thought of something starts the cascade of symptoms, what evidence do we have that we need to be wary? This is a great leveller question for me and can trip me out of my jitters pretty quickly. And I usually manage to laugh at myself, which is quite an achievement for someone who takes themselves too seriously too much of the time. As they say, laughter really is the best medicine. Some introverts find that harder than others though. Resilience really is a useful tool for we introverts. And I'm aware that those with social anxiety, which is not the same as introversion, will get jittery about just being with people, full stop. Social anxiety is an overwhelming fear of social situations where they may have to meet or speak with people. Natural introverts don't fear social situations. They just have to have sufficient charge in their mental, social and emotional batteries. There are brilliant ways of dealing with social anxiety if that's what you need, and if you're serious about overcoming social anxiety, finding a great therapist is an important first step. Now let's move on to explore some practical ideas to calm those jitters. Number 1, preparation. I know the trite old saying, failing to prepare is preparing to fail, but it can really be true in the case of calming the jitters. Whatever the situation you're facing, do whatever is needed, whether it be research, practice or rehearse. All of these will help you to feel more confident. When I'm helping clients with their presentations, I advise them to practice the first few lines so they start strongly. Usually, once you've got off to a great start, you're going to be okay. Number 2, visualise. Michael Jordan and Usain Bolt didn't visualise themselves falling out of the blocks, tripping over their feet and falling before the finish line. They visualised every pace of the race and saw themselves celebrating the win. Visualisation and affirmation are powerful weapons in an athlete's toolkit, so let's borrow the ideas from them. Number 3, breathing. As soon as you feel your heart rate increase, if not before, practice box breathing or another conscious breathing technique that works for you. Mindful breathing has the ability to calm the central nervous system, which calms the jitters really fast. Number 4, replenish. Set aside time before and after the event or occasion to charge and recharge your batteries. As I talked about in an earlier episode, doing nothing or just vegging, as I referred to it, doesn't actually recharge my batteries. That was a shock to me. So if you still feel tired after a weekend of doing nothing, you may be the same. Just saying. Number 5, support. Having the right people around you who will call you out on your own bullshit when you're catastrophizing and genuinely be there for you is invaluable. All too often we get caught up in this rubbish about introverts hating people. That's misanthropy, not introversion. As humans, we're designed for connection. It's just that we introverts need the right humans to connect with, those who will be allies, coaches and advocates. Here's what not to do. Don't take your jitters as a sign that you're not capable. Don't do that to yourself. Nuh-uh. There are enough naysayers out there without you adding to the cacophony. Remember Rob Jung's definition of confidence. He talks about it being the ability to take appropriate and effective action, however challenging it may seem. Jitters are a mark of the challenge, not a sign to retreat and say, I can't do it. Michael Caine, he of You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off, and other great performances, told this story. When I was young, the first time I went on stage, the assistant director said to me, if you're going to be sick, there's a bucket there. Clearly, he was not the first actor to vomit from nerves. Sir Laurence Olivier, who experienced stage fright after a period of time away from live theatre, referred to stage fright as an animal, a monster which hides in its foul corner without revealing itself, but you know that it's there and that it may come forward at any moment. So, experiencing the jitters is entirely normal, and there are times when those jitters send us a useful warning. But we need to be careful to not catastrophize or adopt a defeatist attitude in their presence. By ensuring we're doing what's needed by way of preparation, visualization, conscious breathing, recharging and being supported, we have the ability to calm the jitters so we continue on whatever quest we're on. Remember, confidence is not the absence of fear, but taking action anyway, jitters or no jitters. Oh, and the second occasion when my jitters very nearly got the better of me, my TEDx talk just over 5 years ago. I was trembling so badly backstage that I had to physically shake off the excess energy coursing through my body. And I delivered pretty much what I wanted to in spite of my nerves. So, feel into your jitters, get to know what they're about. Use one or two of the calming tools or approaches mentioned and show up as the fullest, truest expression of yourself. If I can do it, there's hope for us all. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us and leave a comment, because we know that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.
You are listening to an Intentional Media Production podcast.